Welcome back to the Bejeweled podcast, where it doesn't matter what year it is. We all talk about gaming, no matter the season, no matter the weather. It's freezing outside. Okay, at least for me. I'm Joel, I'm the Upper 4121, and this thing is still adorable no matter what.
And I'm Jiozak, and I had to brave the cold temperatures to get dinner, and it took an hour.
Oof. Yeah.
Long story short, I went to go get Culver's for my parents and I, and they missed some stuff, so I went back in, and after I left and got back home, I check the bag, and there was one more thing that they forgot that I didn't realize was gone, so I had to go all the way back. Thankfully, they were super kind about making sure that I got the stuff that I needed, but yeah.
Well, at least you got it anyways. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first podcast of 2024. It is number 28. And today, we'll put the wraps, finally, on the year 2023 as we look back at all of the games and highlights that happened. I did this twice, with 2021 and 2022, and today is no different. But today, I came a bit more prepared, as you might have noticed from the intro. I have graphics, I have, well, mostly discussions, and of course, it's not just games. We will also be talking about DLCs and a few crazy highlights that happened amongst 2023. It has been a crazy year, but was it a good year? We're about to find out. If you're hyped, though, for another podcast, though, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for content if you are new, follow us on our socials, and ring that bell to confirm anything on the channel. Last podcast on the card, up here. Also, I need to get this out of the way. You might be wondering, what in the world is this white screen? Well, that actually is a blue object that's behind me, because let's just say the curtains are gone and I don't have anything dark to put behind me.
Yep.
So that's why you're seeing me almost like luminescent, but that's just because I have nothing dark to put behind me to contrast. But all I can say is the Muse shirt's still there.
I mean, it matches all the extra white that you're seeing behind me because this is the first time that I'm using my Pixel 7 phone as a webcam because they added that functionality last month.
And that's cool. You can explain more, but I need to get something real quick, sorry.
Sure. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to try this out. I know my cam occasionally will just like blink with green. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's a Discord thing or if that's still prevalent in other applications. I haven't tested that out. So, yeah, I'll just have to figure that out.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll get it to the bottom links quickly, I'll be honest. No problem whatsoever. Anyways, the reason why I had to leave for a bit is that I actually forgot to get my Switch. 3DS. So yeah, that's
Nice.
the thing. Other than that, I need to update something. Because I'm gonna put my Poiple command too, because again, I'm still shiny hunting for that. With that said, you ready?
Yeah, let's go. I always feel like I do that. That's definitely not the first time that I think to like do the Mario. Let's go.
Apparently
I should
not. Apparently not.
I should do more so like the Let's Go from Bowser's Inside Story before you get Luigi, where it's just Let's Go.
Man, probably you could. Alright, so, I mean, I am not going to diddle that anymore. Straight in with the very first game I want to talk about, and that is Metroid Prime Remastered. Oh boy, that was I would say one of the first few games, if not the first game, that kind of kicked off 2023. I know it's a remastering, but it was still a big deal all the more.
Especially because of all of the rumors and speculation that was happening. Like, for years, people were saying that this game, either just the first game or the trilogy, was going to be a thing. But then to actually see it happen, and it released digitally that same day, like, I was taken aback a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not only did it take aback a lot of people, including myself, by the way, it also kind of set the trend for this series, would you say? With remasterings, remakes and all that stuff to the Switch. But considering how this is like probably the near the dying years of the first ever Switch, it's kind of been like true that everyone's been following that trend. Excuse me.
Yeah. Also, hello, Fran.
Hi
Genius.
there, Fran.
I feel like I was gonna say something. Yeah, like the fact that this year, like, started out with a game that a lot of people are familiar with, but it was revamped so much. Metroid Prime Remastered. It felt like it did set the tone a little bit for this year in terms of, like, major Nintendo releases, at least, because a lot of stuff was, like, either, older games like ports and remakes, or previous series that got new entries. I'm just staring. Sorry, I have the Google Drive folder. My eyes just locked onto the Pikmin there.
Spoilers? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, basically same but different. A lot of games all of a sudden like follow that trend, and as you'll see, for those watching, you'll see a lot of it. Maybe not shown directly, but some of them also like just talked about like indirectly, as you'll see. You mentioned Pikmin, of course. There was Pikmin 1 and 2 that came out for Switch, so we can just continue on with that conversation in due time. Would you say?
Yeah. I guess some additional stuff about Metroid Prime Remastered. It's interesting that they, like, along with adapting the control scheme to, like, the modern Switch controllers that we have, like the Joy-Con and Pro controllers, they also preserved the original control scheme, which is interesting. I guess for the sake of, like, preserving it so then people can see what it's like, and also those that played the game a lot back in the day, like, they can play it with that same control scheme. Is the game compatible with GameCube controllers with the adapter? Do you happen to know offhand?
If I had to guess, because I honestly don't know single-handedly, I would say yes. And considering the fact that it is a GameCube game, I would be shocked if they didn't include the compatibility.
Right.
It would just be a very bad strategy in terms of like bringing back Metroid Prime, which was a good game in its prime.
Okay, so let's see.
Also, Fran, Jiozak,
how crazy is it that
you are watching a podcast? You're watching me and Jiozak talk about the games of 2023 and discussing if 2023 was a good year overall.
Yes. I'll have to look into this a little bit more, but of course, technically, you can play it with a GameCube controller, because technically every game that supports a Pro controller, you can play with a GameCube controller. It's just some things might not map quite right with the shoulder buttons.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a yes and a no.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think to look that up before, but
that's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, it was just a random thought that I had, but like they implemented that with, what is it, 3D All-Stars, Super Mario Sunshine. Even though that didn't have GameCube controller support to start out with, they did patch that in a later date, along with being able to invert the camera controls, which wasn't a thing to begin with. Why? Anyways.
We'll never know. Alright, next game is we already introduced a controversy. Hogwarts Legacy. I mean, this game, oh boy, sparked out, it was the talk of the town at near the start.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I know basically nothing about this game, except from the fact that the Switch port, probably is the game, I would say, if for sure on a Nintendo system, if not of all time, that has like the longest patch notes for a single update ever. I don't know if you saw anything relating to that.
Patch notes? You mean like there's a lot of patches that came out, or is it like they keep patching and patching and patching every day?
No, there was like one singular update that they made to the Switch port, which, by the way, didn't even release until later last year. Just one singular update. It just kept going and going. Let me look this up.
I'll look up on my phone as well. It's always nice to have technology with us.
Yes. Update, patch notes.
There
Let's
it is.
See.
Whoa.
Open.
There's actually a singular site for this, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Why is this not bringing up the actual Nintendo website? Google, what's going on?
Oh my goodness, this keeps going. This keeps going. Oh my goodness.
Yes, I was not kidding.
I would like to point out, I'm actually on the site right now. Look at how much I have to scroll normally just to get to the end. 5, 6, 7, 8. The list just goes on. That's 9. I had swiped that 9 times. Jeez.
Yes.
Wow.
Like, the developers are clearly, like, dedicated to this game running decent on Switch.
I mean, I think I can see kind of the reason why they would do that. From my perspective, when it comes to publicity, whether positive or negative, it will always have an impact on games. Sometimes great, sometimes bad. And as we saw, I mean, there was just an outcry of many people, of the radical people who were like, don't play this game while you're promoting this kind of what's that? This kind of like attitude towards our kind or something like that.
Transphobia.
Transphobia, thank you, towards our kind. The only thing is that when you do that, not only are you sparking people to not play the game, but you're also gonna spark some people to be like, wait, what's going on? And also they play the game and then they realize, wait, this game is actually pretty decent. They recommend it to others, and they hear about the news, all that stuff, and then they end up. Some people just go on the offensive against these transphobics.
Yeah, I mean, I've personally, barely consumed anything regarding this game, except for, one review, just to see, is this actually a good game? But, yeah, so from what I've heard of other people that that I interact with that aren't really online, because for context, I work at a local library. I've spoken to some people that have played the game and they very much enjoy that. I'm not going to take that away from them. But I'm personally not gonna play the game. That's basically my stance, is that I've very much chosen to just not support the game, not play the game, but if people choose to play it, that's their prerogative.
Well, of course, there's nothing of ill will towards the certain parties that were affected, right?
What do you mean?
You're not playing the game not off the motive to show support or discrimination against any party affected party during that time, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm not into Harry Potter whatsoever, so I didn't have interest in this game to begin with. So it was just a convenient choice for me. The convenient choice is to not. Yes. Yeah, because I don't have any personal, I don't want to say, involvement. I don't have any personal interest in the series to begin with, so it's okay, I can just conveniently skip this game.
Yeah, I mean, I myself didn't really watch the Harry Potter series, and I myself not really as interested. I just kind of find it sad that, like, this kind of transphobia, like, kind of came out. But the great news, at least, is that it still gave people a game that is actually pretty good. And as you heard from the Switch notes, they really wanted people to try out, at least, like, build back that fervor towards the Harry Potter series, despite all the bad media.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that. Anyways, number 3. How about Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe?
Hey, it's the guy on my shirt.
This one, I mean, speaking of remastering or remixes, hello. Wii game to Switch. You'll see this.
Yeah, I was kind of...
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was kind of surprised that they did like a full-on remake and not just like an enhanced port. Kind of like what they did for Mario Galaxy as part of the 3D All-Stars pack, like just enhanced port. No, they did like a full-on remake, which I was kind of surprised about. Have you played this Kirby game before, and I guess what other Kirby games have you played before?
Okay, because I didn't really grow up with my first main system was the Switch. Unless you want to talk about 3DS, but even then, I did not even have a single 3DS Kirby game at all. I wasn't as interested. The only reason I played Kirby games was because of Nintendo Switch Online. So I have played like Kirby's Dreamland, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby's Dreamland 2, but that's it. Any other Kirby game will probably just be a side game like Star Stacker or what was it? Kirby Attack? No, Kirby.
Avalanche?
Thank you, Kirby's Avalanche, which is the Puyo Puyo version. However, with that said, I have tried a bit of Kirby and Forgotten Land, and for the context, yes, I actually have played Return to Dreamland on the Wii before.
Okay.
So I know about the game, and honestly, when I heard that it was getting a remake, I was like, bruh, that is actually superb. It's such a classic Kirby multiplayer game. In fact, it's the very first multiplayer game that was not a side game. So, I mean, the trend continues, and this one was another big name to say, hey, I am on Switch now.
Yeah, like, this was probably the Kirby game that kickstarted this, like, modern era of Kirby that we're in. Because, was it... Well, no, I think it was around that same time that the Dream Collection was released. Maybe.
The Dream
I'm trying
Collection?
to remember the timings of both of those, but...
Oh, you mean on wait, you meant like Nintendo Switch Online when Kirby's Dream Land 1, 2, and 3 came out?
Sorry, I'm talking about the original release on Wii. Like, around the same time that Return to Dreamland released.
Actually, 2009, if I had to remember.
Was it? Okay. Well, anyways, like, around that time is really when, like, this current age of, like, modern Kirby, like, started. Because then Triple Deluxe really used a lot of, similar stylings, and I wouldn't be surprised if they used the same game engine for Triple Deluxe, like, if they just pulled it from Return to Dreamland, / Planet Robobot. But yeah, it's, like, the fact that we got this Kirby game that is really responsible for the current era of Kirby that we're in is really cool, and, art style at first was a little bit weird, but I pretty much got used to it, like, right away. It's just that initial, like, couple minutes, basically, of seeing it threw me for a loop.
That happens when we go from 720p max to, like, near 1080, I would say.
Yeah, I actually don't know what the max resolution, of this game is. Sorry. I guess before we go any further, transparency for the audience. A couple weeks ago, I dealt with that virus, and I'm still dealing with some side effects, like namely mucus related. So if that, basically that's why I have tissues on hand, and I have a garbage can just in case if anything comes up. Anyways,
It's funny you mention that because that's kind of like me when back in the times when I was also sick. There'll be days that I'll actually have tissue right next to me. Although now I would say I'm 98% recovered. I just clear out my phlegm, so honestly, I'm alright. So it's kind of funny that the roles reversed.
nice. Yeah.
Where's my Uno reverse card? Anyways, let's move on. Number 4 on the list is, how about this one? What was it again? Sorry. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Dragon, if I remember correctly.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, dude, this was out of the blue. This came right after Bayonetta 3, and of course we know the Bayonetta 3 drama that happened. But even then, this is a classic. Having a side character have her side of the story really developed. But is it meaning something?
Right, and sorry, I do actually...
But as I continue on with Cereza, the one thing I will say is that when it came to Cereza, like when it first launched, I think everyone was like, wait, what? But to be honest, a big deal. And in the context of what has been happening with Sonic the Hedgehog, especially with Sonic Superstars, as we'll discuss later, it definitely is a great thing that Sega is actually branching out more of the other franchises. And even they themselves, Sega, have mentioned they are reviving several other series. There's Super Monkey Ball has returned. There's some other stuff they have mentioned, hey, we want to revive this series. So this was honestly the starting point. And now it's developed into something bigger, as we've seen in the news.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I have paid attention as I was trying to take care of that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this game, Bayonetta Origins, was... like, there was a teaser for it in Bayonetta 3. I don't remember if it was like an unlockable thing or what it was, but it was definitely teased well before the announcement of this game proper. Yeah. Yeah, it's a interesting, like, diversion of what the, Bayonetta series has been. In
the context of what I mentioned about Sega branching out of, like, franchises, like, do you think, like, how do you see this game? Do you see it as a spark of, like, them, like, saying, hey, let's try revive other franchises?
It could. Yeah, definitely. I think it could also be kind of an entry point for a lot of people that were maybe turned off from the main Bayonetta gameplay. Where am I going with this?
I'm not sure.
Sorry. Along with the mucus stuff, I'm still dealing with, like, some brain fog.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's great for a podcast. Yeah, basically, it very much seems like a good entry point for people that aren't as familiar with the series. It's just I don't know how well that works in practice. I'm pretty sure at one point I've had the demo for it downloaded, but I never actually played it. Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm gonna put it downloading right now on my Switch.
So you're gonna have a better opinion. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I've never played anything Bayonetta before. So, do you have any experience with the series, or are you in the same boat?
Well, here's the thing. I have seen the gameplay itself. It really is just Sega's take on like a absolute like chaotic shoot 'em up. And I guess beat 'em up technically because Bayonetta is not only a shooter with her shoe guns, but also like an actual fighter herself, as we see in Smash. Of course, that's another way you can see that. Cereza Lost Dragon is kind of the fresh breath of fresh air, just something different. That is very a far big like segue away from the gameplay that everyone knows and loves about Bayonetta. Yet it's quite charming in itself. You have a certain art style that is so contrasting again to the Bayonetta series. Yet it's so charming and cute. So that's why you mentioned of how this was an attempt for Sega to get people who are not as really well known with Bayonetta into the Bayonetta series. And honestly, for me, in terms of pen and paper, like just face value, they did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, and also, by the way, it's Cereza and the Lost Demon.
Demon, thank you. Yeah, it's one of the D's.
Yeah, it's okay.
So with that said, I mean, as I said, very great way for Sega to try and branch off, and I feel like this was the start of them saying, you know what, let's try doing it with other franchises, as we will see in a moment.
Yeah.
All right, from one Sega game to an... Oh, sorry.
I still feel like I need to just play through the Bayonetta games. Probably not one after another, because I've heard that if you do that, they all kind of blend together, so I would probably play one, take a break, play two, take a break. Yeah. Excuse me.
All right,
Yeah.
From one Sega game to another, and it's not April Fool's, but we have the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
They killed Sonic, those jerks.
I don't even know who the murder actually is.
I was trying to reference the "they killed Kenny" line, but I can't fully say it on this show.
Kenny Ryan? Okay, no, not a Kenny. But yeah, no, this was a surprise of, I think, everyone. I mean, we thought it was all a joke, but it actually is a pretty decent mystery game.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's just one of those things that, like, was it a April Fool's thing? Yeah. Yeah, just one of those things that comes out of the blue that you're not really expecting, but is, yeah, turns out to be a real good project for being an April Fool's thing.
And let's not kid ourselves here, it actually is pretty good. Plus, they brought back characters that you know and love. Like, there's Cream the Rabbit, there's Rooster the Bat, there's a lot of these characters that you already know from previous games, but they just never made an actual proper appearance again. Man, it's been quite some time. I mean, discounting Sonic Prime, which, by the way, was in fantastic series you should watch. I myself haven't watched it, but I heard very good reviews. They never actually been like proper playable characters until a certain game came up, which we'll explain in a moment. And the fact that the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog also suddenly allows like these characters to, well, have the spotlight again is actually pretty nice.
Yeah, it's great that they brought back a lot of characters that really didn't get as much spotlight. Yeah.
I think at the same time, and
you can tell I'm very prepared for this. I had all day, but I got busy with other things, and that took away my time.
Notes, Jiozak.
I know, but I got busy with things that were unforeseen today, like waiting or using up an hour just to get dinner.
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anyways, jokes aside, actually, not really jokes aside, but I guess you could say that. I would say Sega actually kind of nicely pinned it right now to actually do this kind of game because honestly, let's look back at a few years. 2020, well, of course, we had the virus. 2021 was still very much in lockdown, and 2022 people were still coming out of the shelves. I feel like 2023 was kind of the perfect year for people to finally be like, hey, let's do a actually good and impactful April Fool's joke, but we actually make it proper. And Sega, for me, did a fantastic job with this.
Yeah.
Plus, it kind of plays into the fan base of everyone being like, oh, Sonic franchise is dead every time. Because you know how people always like to say that about Sonic, right?
Yeah, just because, like, every single new release, the reception is mixed.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh my gosh, I love this game, and other people are like, why is Sonic still a thing? And I'm just sitting on the sideline like, I should still play Sonic Superstars, because I bought that on Steam and I've not touched it yet.
Sounds heck. Anyways, but no,
I got sick with the virus and just wanted to play Pikmin 4 because I didn't want to play anything new.
Fair. It's kind of interesting though, because it's like, Sonic is dead. No, I really mean it. And then they actually bring this up, and then all of a sudden it's an actual proper game for once.
Yeah.
So it's always it's always funny
they finally
when they
killed Sonic.
Exactly, it's funny like when they put it that way. It's always good. All right, number 6 on the list, Advance Wars 1+2. Speaking of more remastering, here we go.
Yeah, and
you would think for a game that like came from GBA, right? Honestly, when you think of Advance Wars, I don't think as many people would be would say like, oh yeah, that game is good. No, it's one of those like far out games, but it's a good far out game.
Yeah, one of my brothers growing up loved the series. I would see him playing any one of the various entries. Was there one on DS or was there 2?
I mean, I'll have a look at it while you discuss. Tell me more.
I almost want to say that it was 2, so 4 games total. But yeah, he would play those games all the time, and I always had a fascination or just interest in the games just because of how they looked and the gameplay, but strategy games weren't really a thing that I wanted to play when I was 8.
Yeah, there were 2, by the way. There was Advance Wars DS and Advance Wars DOR. And I'm not kidding. The first one actually is DS because it's Dual Strike.
Oh, that's right, yeah. But yeah, this game finally coming out, like, remember, this was announced, what was it, E3 of 2021?
It was ancient when you mentioned E3 nowadays, considering they're dead. But yeah, they did announce it that time.
And it was originally slated to come out that December, and it had to be delayed for reasons, probably just, extra polish. And around the time that it was supposed to come out, certain real-world events happened that would have not been great to coincide with the events that take place in Advance Wars. So it was just put on a indefinite, essentially cancellation, until almost a year later they were like, yeah, we'll just put it out.
Lesson for all of you people who are game developers, make sure you word your game properly, otherwise this kind of crap can happen.
Yeah, this isn't the first time that this kind of thing has happened with this series. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Knowing the times that these games have come out, or at least the times beforehand, yes, I can see that. And I don't want to mention Advance Wars GBA because it leads to an event that we don't really want to talk about.
Yep, I just googled the release date of the first game, and it is 1 day away from a certain event. Anyways. This series is cursed, but fun.
Yes. Cursed in a different way, by the way. We're not saying the game is completely bad. It's cursed in a different way.
Yeah, different way in the sense that at this point, if a new one is announced,
It just can't catch a break.
yeah, it first, like, big tangent, I would say, big, so
What?
the original I don't know what I'm saying at this point, if I'm being honest.
Can someone
The
highlight that,
original
please?
Please.
Big.
The original The original release of Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, at least here in the States, was around the same time that the H1N1 flu happened, and the events in the game revolved around this super virus just spreading throughout the Mushroom Kingdom. And then when the re-release happened, that was a year before that virus hit in 2020. That game in particular is super cursed.
Wait. So, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe?
No, Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
You're right. Man, that's crazy.
Yup. It is my favorite game in the Mario & Luigi series, but it is also the most cursed because both times it was released, major diseases were spreading throughout the world.
Oh.
Or were about to, in the case of the remake. Because
Yeah.
that was January 2019, so you can see the time frame. That was farther off, but still.
It's still, ooh, that's oof.
Anyways, cool that this remake happened, and it's cool that they added online play.
Yep.
First time in the series. No, wait, maybe the DS versions had that. Maybe it did.
Maybe, yeah, probably. Anyways, let's move on to number 7, and Jiozak.
Yee, Pikmin!
We had Pikmin 1 and 2 come out like beforehand as a remake, but now let's talk about the actual new game that includes Doggy.
Yes, one of the best boys in gaming, alongside Missile from Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective. What were your
I said Poochie.
Poochie's a good boy as well, but Ochi and Missile, even better boys.
It ain't a miss, so never mind, I'll shush.
Yeah, Pikmin 4 is very much worth the wait. I didn't really feel that wait, to be honest, because I just got into Pikmin with 3 Deluxe on the Switch, and then when the re-releases of 1 and 2 came out, I played those, and I was like, yeah, I am ready for Pikmin 4, and it was only like 2 weeks away, and so I didn't really feel the wait as much because I wasn't a fan during the wait, and despite that, this game still delivers. I
feel like you're trying your best not to copy the video that you made on all 4 Pikmin games, right?
Sorta, kinda. I'm just trying to condense my points. Basically, it takes the best from all the Pikmin games and puts it into one singular title. Like, fans of the cave gameplay from 2, you're very much serviced here, except if you really liked the super difficult caves, in which case there's fan mods for 2, you're probably playing those already. And for those of us like myself who prefer the day limit structure of 1 and 3, there is a similar mode to that you unlock. At this point, that's not really spoilers, because Nintendo just earlier today posted a tweet talking about Olimar's shipwrecked tail. So, yeah, it's, you have 15 days to get all 30 parts. Like, there's an even bigger, like, larger, more concentrated amount of stress that's put on you. Granted, you can very much complete it with 5 days left. But still, just the fact that it feels like a faster Pikmin 1 in that regard is super great. I know a lot of people have qualms about the auto lock-on, because that's not something you can turn off. Basically, if you get close enough to an object or an enemy that you can throw Pikmin onto, your cursor will just snap right onto the object, and it will not move away until you physically move your character far enough away. And at first, it's not great, but I got used to it pretty much within the first couple hours, and I just stopped thinking about it. As bad as that sounds, like, yeah, it was a issue to begin with, but I got used to it. Yeah. That's my thoughts about that.
So the moral of the story over here is just play Pikmin 4.
Yes.
Whether you're a fan
Quick
or not.
tip. Yeah. By the way, there's demos out for 3 Deluxe and 4, and they let you transfer your save data to the full game if you get those.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna have to do another mute here. Hold on.
No worries, no worries. While you do that, let's move on to the next one. Let me just make sure I click the right one. How about this? This classic, this timeless. Well, I say classic, but to be honest, it's too young to be a classic. Tears of the Kingdom, the biggest release probably in Nintendo Switch history. $90
gosh,
game,
yes.
I believe. $90 game, I believe.
$70.
$70,
yes.
excuse me, compared to the 60. For us, will be 90 plus, and for good, very good reason.
Yeah. So this game, it was announced in 2019, and it was just like no one really knew the state that it was in, especially because of it. I said the word. Oh no. Wait, hold on. 42? It's 42 minutes into my recording.
Oh, you're gonna... Okay, sure. Anyways,
so
let's just say throughout those 3 years, they did not eat a sandwich. They didn't eat any sandwiches. They went to town, because boy, this game is huge.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to write that down, so I put it in our DMs, just so then when I go to edit this, I don't know what the YouTube automated systems do with that word, so I'll just chop it out of my recording. That's why I had to write it down.
They did not go to lunch. They did not take a break, because boy, there was just a lot you can do in that game. Koroxy's return.
They cooked an absolute feast.
Yeah, exactly. Koroxy's return, begrudgingly that they are, but and then also the shrines are back, gameplay's back, and of course, people have... Okay, here's the thing. I myself am not really a big fan of the open world gameplay that both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom provide. But if there's one thing that I keep seeing online, boy, apparently they have absolutely... how to say this in a very PG way? They've really buffed up the characters, if you know what I mean.
Oh, just like in terms of their appearance?
Yes.
Are you talking about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
People have been putting online, and all I can think of is... Nintendo, what have you done? Like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I know of someone online who has made a video about, like, 10 ways that Breath of the Wild has kind of, like, broken the PG barrier, so to speak. And it looks like they have broken even further with some of the things they did with Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was confirmed in some interviews that they purposely made Ganondorf even more attractive. Like, I'm not joking, that's a thing.
Which, for a game that's so serious, why? Well, then again, I guess you say more muscular, he's supposed to be more stronger. So I guess there is that kind of link there they were trying to do, no pun intended, but still.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. It didn't really...
Oh, it was interesting to see, I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever. I kind of zone those sorts of things out because I've played over 100 hours of the game.
Sorry.
It's just interesting how much of a focus there was on that.
Sorry, slight tangent on my part. How much you want to bet that the creators of Tears of the Kingdom were like, hey, Sakura, are you sure you're not gonna make a new Switch game Smash game anytime soon? And then Sakura's like, yes. I'm like, okay, we can do anything we can do again in Ganondorf and Zelda, let's do it. How much you wanna bet that they went through that?
Yeah, they're like, he's busy with his YouTube channel, just go for it.
Exactly.
and now they're looking back and it's like, okay, yeah, he's wrapping up his YouTube channel this year, which, by the way, that's news. He's finishing his YouTube channel this year. Yeah.
Is that a sign for Smash Switch 2, maybe? We'll see.
Some people are speculating. With things like that, I'm always just in the camp of, I'm not giving it any mental thought until there's official announcements.
Me neither, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's like, I hear rumors and speculation, and it's like, okay, cool. Not for me.
Not for me either. I'd rather get the proper news as well before I even jump to any kind of conclusion. All right.
Concrete information is my favorite flavor of information.
Anyways, on to the halfway point. We're near the halfway point. This one was a big one, even though ourselves really didn't talk about it. Sea of Stars.
Yeah, I heard great things about it. I played half an hour of the Switch demo, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can see myself playing this.
Give the context for Sea of Stars. Even I myself haven't really, paid attention too much of it.
I heard that there's a decent amount of overlap between that game and The Messenger, and I actually picked up The Messenger on Switch. I just haven't played it yet, because, fun fact, right now, today, the day we're doing this, another Code Recollection came out, and I've played 2 hours of that. I'll wait until I play more to give more of my thoughts, but so far, cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
also, it's a story game, so it's like, can't really say too much without spoilers.
True. Although you say Messenger, and I myself knowing the Messenger quite well, that's actually a very interesting take on it. I assume it's 3D, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like top-down.
Yeah, there we go.
Traditional 2D RPG.
Oh, 2D RPG. Oh man, actually, yeah. Just from this here already, knowing that it's similar to Messenger is actually pretty cool.
Well, I guess not 2D side-scroller, an actual top-down 2D environment. Top-down.
Got it. No, I understand what you mean now.
Okay. Yeah, just a regular RPG like the classic Pokemon games where the camera's top-down. But there's action commands for at least some of the stuff. So that's why it's on my radar, is because it's a RPG with action commands. It's just I've not played too much of it. My one of my older brothers actually played through it, and he very much so enjoyed it. In fact, let me try to pull up his tweet here. Just because I know he, at the very least, mentioned something about it. Oh yeah. Let me just read it.
My little brother's on this app. Anyways,
Yeah, it's such a solid game. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 easily. Beautiful graphics, amazing storyline, rewarding combat system, vast amount of options to tune it to your desired difficulty. One wish for improvement would be for the puzzles to be harder. I often felt the food system wasn't needed too, since you could heal at bonfires all the time. Maybe making enemies respawn after resting could give more incentive, but just having reduced XP gains on repeated fights...
sounds like
and
the
he
food was
loves
mostly
the soundtrack.
Sounds like the food was mostly for the speedrunners who don't really want to keep bonfiring all the time.
Probably.
Which actually is not a bad way. That's actually a cool way to actually allow like speedrunners to try to play the game. Finding ways to, speed up their process without, relying too much on bonfires. That's kind of cool though.
Yeah.
Just from what I'm hearing. And that in and of itself proves how good the game is, even just by hearing my ear.
Right. So, that's from my brother at Jordan Jammer TTV on Twitter. I refuse to call it its other name.
That's
the website. I'm referring to the website, not my brother. Yeah.
Look, I call him. I wait, hang on. I call him Max only. I only allow him to. Wait, no, that I messed up. I wanted to say I'm the only one who can call him Max and no one else, but I definitely just messed up what I wanted to say.
Oh.
So that joke fell through the window.
Actually, I'm not gonna go into this story, but there's a whole story about him being called a name that isn't even remotely close to Jordan, and of all things, it relates to Burger King. I'm not even gonna explain it. I'll just leave it out there.
I mean, that really...
It's not a...
I guess you can say
it's
that...
not an...
I guess for you,
Sorry.
You're saying that the story doesn't Jordan matters.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's not a name that any of us family members came up with. It's...
Jordan matters.
It's
If you're
Burger
watching
King's
this,
fault.
I apologize.
It's Burger King's fault. There's your raid message.
Burger King's fault. I'm doing it. Actually, Burger King's fault. There we go. Anyways, number 10, and oh dear, this game looks familiar. Oh wait, it's Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, this is I heard it described as basically D&D, but in the form of a video game.
Correct.
Not tabletop simulator video game, but actual, Skyrim video game.
It's take up Skyrim and put D&D into it. That's basically Baldur's Gate 3. And from the much I've seen in it from Solid Plasma, which, by the way, shout out to you, my friend, it is a fantastic interactive game. Very on the M side, but let's just be honest, that's kind of where games of the years kind of went in for quite some time at this point.
Oh, what?
M.
Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't
very
hear
much
what
on the
word.
Very much on the M side, but that's kind of where all the games of the year have went at this point.
Okay, you said M. I thought you said empty.
Excuse me. And for me say
letter
Baldur's Gate...
M, letter T.
For me to say Baldur's Gate 3 is empty is sacrilege. Baldur's Gate 3 is a humongous game, and it's so charming as well, with the customization, being able to play with it different facial features, and of course the body as well, different characters themselves. It is a D&D game after all. And then of course the combat itself. People have said it is cool, others have said it's silly. Both of them words is already a good sign for a good combat system.
Yeah, it's all I really know about Baldur's Gate is a story that Tom Fox was telling when he was playing, where he unintentionally started a quest and then went to go do something else, and a town that was relating to that quest like was just devoid of people altogether. Because some things like are time sensitive and others aren't, and you don't really have a good sense of which is which, apparently.
Well,
so
that's actually kind of hilarious.
Like, in terms of the actual gameplay, that's what I'm familiar with, and also that the game itself sparked discussion as to just the quality of AAA games in general.
This little guy is free. It's free. Anyways, go ahead.
I have no view of your camera, so it's like I feel like you were gesturing, but I don't know. I don't know where or what.
I'm just making the joke on the what's it, the free media from the Mickey Mouse short.
Oh.
So this is now 100 years old.
Oh yeah, the public domain stuff, yeah.
Thank you, yeah. And let's continue, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically all that I know about Baldur's Gate is that stuff, and then it won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Which, like, I can definitely see why it did, but earlier today I actually I watched the semi-ramblomatic video about, like, how you can predict what game will win what category in the Game Awards at this point. I very much so recommend that people go give it a watch. If the name doesn't seem familiar of semi-ramblomatic / fully ramblomatic, zero punctuation?
Sorry, guys.
Oop.
I made a mistake on my end. Go ahead, sorry.
If those names don't ring a bell, then maybe Zero Punctuation does, because it's the same guy, Yahtzee. But, like, a lot of stuff from that, a lot of people from that company, ended up, leaving that company that they were working for and doing their own YouTube channel, Second Wind. I haven't watched everything from that channel, but from the stuff that I've seen, like, they should have done this sooner. Why did they have to do this, like, behind a company other than maybe just the cushion of a regular paycheck? That's probably why. But anyways, very good channel.
Nice.
And yeah. He gave the reason that Baldur's Gate won is because it, like, is very much like, it signifies, like, progress being made just in the general gaming in the industry of gaming, that it's just this, I forget the wording that he used, but essentially it was indicative of the progress that's being made in the gaming industry. That's kind of how you can, like, determine what game will win Game of the Year, and also because all the other choices were very, like, formulaic sequels or Nintendo games. Stuff that, like, harkens back to older, like, old school games. Anyways. He explains it much better.
Hopefully there'll be one day that this kind of trend is broken, because as I mentioned during my very first stream of Plants vs. Zombies Game of the Year edition, I kind of hope that, that we will see a Game of the Year that kind of breaks out the norms that we're so used to nowadays. And it's kind of sad, as I said before, that we're in these kind of norms, but I'm just hoping that in due time, this norm will be finally broken out of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because a game has, like, the best graphics and performs the best and is super hyped by a lot of people, may not always mean it's game of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Baldur's Gate wasn't like deserving of it. It's just people need to just be more aware that like
You don't want to know, Patrick.
it's a thing. Yeah, just judging games off of their overall like gameplay and fun factor as opposed to just pure technical jargon and that like visual wow factor, which is where I see a lot of games going these days, and it's like, no.
No. Anyways,
that's just my personal thought of just like, we don't need this.
By the way, Jesse, is someone on your end playing Pokemon Emerald?
A what?
Is someone playing Pokemon Emerald on your end?
Emerald?
Dude, oh my gosh, it's so loud. Oh wait, I know why it's so loud. Trombone Champ is up next. Now, granted, this is not released this year, but actually it is released on the Switch this year, and boy, it got a lot of attention this year.
I'm confused about that transition.
Pokemon Emerald,
It's like-
Gen 3, you know how the trombone mean and all that stuff? I know it's trumpets, but still, but very similar.
Oh, about brass instruments. Okay,
Yes.
I gotcha. Anyways,
And that's
Eevee
what
on
I
your
get.
shoulder.
That's what I
Yep.
get. But yeah. Trombone Champ.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest meme game this last year, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was released in 2022, but it was released for Switch last year. Trombone Champ, you'd think I would have notes down. Okay. Yeah, September 15th, 2022 is the original release. And wow, that would have been like a year later that the Switch version came out, because it was September Direct last year. That's interesting. So, yeah, Trombone Champ is a rhythm game that's very infamous for just how bonkers the music gets, and how like there's a whole side quest type thing where you're trying to appease the baboon gods or whatever.
Yeah, it's strange, and yet it works. Not saying it works perfectly, but it definitely works.
Yeah, which now that I'm looking at the list of platforms that this is on, it's only on PC and Switch, nothing else.
Dang.
And that's probably because of the control scheme that it requires.
Yep.
On PC, like, you use the mouse to move your trombone slide. By default, it actually goes to inverted controls, because technically that's how you play a trombone. I was in band all throughout high school, so I have a basic understanding of the trombone, kind of. But you can invert that in the settings. For the Switch version, the ideal control scheme is Joy-Con with motion. You move it up and down to control, and you hit a button to play the notes. And even if you're playing a wrong note, it still plays the note, unlike other rhythm games.
Yep.
So, I pretty much impulse bought this game when it was dropped on Switch, and even though I've played a couple hours, I don't regret it. It's a very fun time. Just don't take it super seriously. Have a good time. Switch version, you can sync up multiple Joy-Con and play local co-op.
How can you not take this game How can you not take this game not seriously, considering it's so hard to keep a straight face when you hear the trombones?
Exactly.
And I think with the creators, right, that was their intent. Like, sometimes when you see a lot of people play music games or rhythm games, where, like, for example, you could go from, think Osu to Tap Tap Beat back in the days when the iPhone was still a new to the world, to many other mobile and Flash online games that require you to have good rhythm. A lot of people often go towards that trend of, oh, I must be perfect. Oh, I must make sure I hit every note perfectly. Very rarely will you hear people be like, oh, this game is fun. This is so simple, all this stuff. Or talk about the whimsical or creative notes that these games have. Trombone Champ breaks that barrier, breaks that mold, and it breaks it so well. Which is why I would say this is why Trombone Champ is so good.
Yeah, it really like establishes its identity in the intro song that you play, just the warm-up. It starts out pretty like basic, but you realize like, oh, this is how it's controlled, and also it still plays the wrong notes because that's how a trombone works. That's how any instrument works, is if you play a wrong note, you've played a wrong note. Just keep going.
Yeah.
But then that intro song starts to just, like, go places. Not, like, super hardcore, but just enough that it really, like, sets the tone for what to expect for this game as a whole. Especially because when you're on the character select screen, it says choose your tromboner. That's the exact wording.
Oof. Anyways,
like, yeah.
From one music game to technically another, and Jiozak, get ready to get bamboozled. I actually had to add this late. How about Jackbox 10?
Oh, yeah.
We're in the final quarter of 2023, and this baby, oh my, it is good.
Yeah, so I guess, like, just first off, this is the 10th Jackbox pack.
What?
Right. But just the fact that this has been going on for a decade makes me feel old.
It also is incredible to see that the godfather, in my opinion, of online games involving you using a tablet to transfer to another tablet device, really has stuck up to be probably the franchise, the main franchise that everyone wants to go to when they think of such games. Sure, there have been other games like it, like Use Your Words, Rift Tracks the Game, what was it? What was that game? Do That Sub or something like that? And yet...
I also know Papa's Quiz.
There we go.
I only know that because, Daniel Howell and Amazing Phil revived their gaming channel and they played that.
But still.
Anyways.
I'm also thinking about the games, I don't remember their name, but still. The Godfather has continued to deliver, and Jackbox 10 is no different, I would say. There's just a lot of good stuff in that game. TKO, which was a huge hit in 3, has finally returned. There's Dodo Remy, which, by the way, I'm just going to say right now, probably top 3 for me in terms of like Jackbox games. And it's not to say that the other ones that are quite, off the hook are bad at all. They are actually fantastic games as well.
Mm-hmm. Night Matrix does make a point that, like, this is probably one of the more contentious packs in recent years. Looking purely at the reception on Steam, like, it's the first title in many years that has garnered a mixed reception for reasons. From what I've heard, people either like love the games or just hate them. It's interesting hearing your thoughts about this, because the only other opinions that I've heard about this are I keep mentioning other YouTubers, but Psylocke Hawk, I've watched his review that he dropped pretty recently, and he was pretty well mixed on the game. But still it gives it praise where it's warranted. Time Jinx.
Time
Yeah.
Jinx is good, I would say. I think of it as a different, like, basically, what's that game in 9? I'm trying to remember. Non-sensory 2, there we go. Because it's very similar to that formula, except it now uses, like, years.
Right. Well, wait, no, is it non-sensory or quicksort?
Non-sensory. Quicksort is way
Okay.
different.
Yeah, I mean, quicksort is like an actual trivia game. Like, are you talking in the vein of like trivia games?
I'm thinking
Because
of the
Time
trend
Jinx?
of, like, closest to the answer gets good, does good.
Oh, that game mechanic. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking just about the trivia games in
Oh,
general.
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay, sorry, I
Quicksort,
misheard.
Quicksort is quirky, yeah, I agree, Baytrip, but that's not what we're talking about here, Emily. Yeah, I mean, Notorious is notorious because it's quite, like, it's very long. I remember when I first played it with Patrick by Funny Thing, the one thing I had took away from the game is it's long, and sometimes you just don't get the results that you were hoping for from that game.
That's what I've heard as well. Namely just how long it is. But Hypnotorious, is it the one where you're trying to figure out which players are in what categories?
Correct, and one of them is the imposter, quote unquote.
Yeah, and you don't know which one is the imposter.
Yep.
And like not even the imposter knows, I should say.
Nope.
Which is kind of an interesting mechanic. Yeah, it seems like it would be a good, like, social deduction game, but just for how long it can be, granted, I've not played Party Pack 10, I've just seen gameplay.
Ah,
It's a big trend. It's either games I've not played at all, or I've sunk 100 hours into, except Pikmin 4, as I've not sunk 100 hours. But yeah, it probably if they tightened up the time for quicksort, to my understanding, it would feel like it would be a better experience purely just from that. But even yeah. Will you buy his Party Pack 10 and Trace?
nah, I don't plan to buy 10 immediately because money crunch, as well as I have so many other games in my backlog already right now.
Fun fact, I bought the pack right before family came up to visit for Christmas. We didn't play Party Pack 10. We just stuck to the old reliables of Quiplash, Trivia Murder Party,
That's
a little bit of Blather Round.
That's a bit sad, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, we always have a fun time, it's just we tend to stick to those games we're more familiar with. Just because we were all kind of tired and didn't have as much time, and typically I like to watch gameplay of the games prior, like, myself, so then I can, like, explain the game in a more simple, streamlined way than the game does. Instead of learning it from the game, because then it's like, it takes like 2 or 3 playthroughs to really get a sense, but like, if I can explain it in a condensed sentence or two, I feel like that set us in a better direction than games that we just jumped right into without any, like, external explanations. That's just because that's, like, I like to condense explanations into something that still retains all the information, but is easier to understand. Like, I like to relate it to something else, like, Pole Mine, it's kind of like Family Feud, but the questions are kind of weird. That sort of thing. Yeah. Easiest game to explain is either TKO or Do Re Mi. Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes. Do Re Mi, it's a rhythm game. TKO, you make
sure
t-shirts.
It's in win. Yeah, make sure it's in win. That's pretty much it.
Well, wait, no, it's Quiplash, but you're making t-shirts instead of writing things.
There we go.
Completely. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next one, and oh boy, I dread actually wanted to talk about this game. Sonic Superstars. And you may
I
be
bought
wondering,
it and I haven't played it.
And Jiozak, you may be wondering yourself, wait, this guy's Let's Play this game. Why does he dread to talk about it? Because I will confess that I, even myself, have to grapple with the fact that it really isn't a good game overall.
Interesting.
Not saying I regret my $45. I don't regret it, but at the same time, it's sad to know that this game really hits the bad notes very strongly, if that makes sense.
How so?
Okay,
yeah.
Let's go to the positives. I'll say this right now. This game is very charming. I love the fact that the characters are back, like the main four. It definitely does feel like Sonic 4. Here's the problem, and people have been complaining about it all the time, and I just hated that people say this every time. People have kept complaining about the fact that one of the music people responsible for the music has used the same drums as he did back in Sonic 4 Episode 1, Jun Senoi, if I remember the name correctly. People kept hating on it, and I hate that, because people just don't give him a chance. Nor the drums a chance, I might add.
Gotcha.
And it's so annoying to hear that every now and again in comment sections or like the media. It's just so annoying.
Okay.
And I know it's supposed to be the real Sonic 4, but come on, man. Just because it's the same drums doesn't mean that it's supposed to be a bad song, right? Now, granted, I know some of the tracks are not great, but you're not supposed to rag on someone after 10 years since the game came out. No, even worse, 12.
Yeah. Right.
Anyways, sorry I'm rambling on that. It's just something I had to get off my back.
You're good. You're good.
Now, and because the music is great, gameplay-wise is fun. Mainly the spin dash is a bit awkward in that game. I'm not too sure if it's just me not playing it properly or not, but still. Trip is fun to play with. Once you unlock Trip as a playable character in that game, it is so fun to play as her. Just because of how she rolls. Now, Trip's story, on the other hand, is a different story, because sadly, boss fights in that game are A, long, and B, sometimes not that great or fun. And let's just say that final boss, even though I really enjoy like the intensity of it, people have complained about it being super long.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, that's the thing. And it's so saddening, like now realizing it myself that the boss fights are the low point of the game. Because honestly, everything else is superb, in my opinion.
Sounds like a game we're gonna play later, or talk about later, with weak boss fights.
Oh, wait. Oh no. I just can't have one or the other, apparently, in the world of gaming. Ugh.
Yeah. What about just like the general gameplay of Sonic Superstars? How is it?
It's fun. I mean, here's the thing. The platforming wise, right, I really enjoy what they did. Like, there isn't really any like Sonic Advance kind of like, you know, shenanigans where you're like in a closed box, it feels like, and you don't know where you're supposed to go. It doesn't feel like that way.
Okay.
And then at the same time, it doesn't feel as though the game has so many, like, you know, unfair moments where you're not supposed to, you died at the point where you're supposed to not die, basically, or it's like the game didn't give you a chance to react.
Okay.
But still, overall, I mean, it's just the boss fights that really were the biggest turnoff.
Okay.
And I hate to mention it, because honestly, some of the boss fights were good.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I've not played the game, so it's just like, okay, anything and everything you have in regards to the game, yeah, just say it. So then
Okay. I know this is gonna be very extreme, I dare say, but Sonic Superstars is Chugga's. My Sonic Superstars is Chugga's sickest star. I'm saying it right now. I wanted it to be good, but unfortunately, it just didn't deliver as much as I hoped it would.
Gotcha.
There, I said it. Anyone wants to fight me on that, go ahead. Because I don't mind discussing more about that. It's just sad for me to know that Sonic Superstars is not the game that the best, the greatest Sonic game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway, sorry, I had to quickly get that off my chest overall because it really is just something that just pains me every time I think about Sonic Superstars.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, all right, moving on. Let's take a hiatus away from what you mentioned about it. Spiderman 2.
Yay, another game I haven't played because I don't have anything to play it on.
But I mean, hearing from what I heard, right, it's actually a very solid game. In terms of gameplay, it's smooth. I mean, when you think of superhero video games, I mean, there's the infamous era, of course, and then of course there's Batman, absolutely tearing things apart, which in a good way, if that makes sense. And then we have Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's where I stop. I mean, that's true. From what you've seen
Plural, but not singular, but...
Yeah. From what you've seen from Spider-Man, though, what do you think of it?
It looks like a really fun game, and just the yeah, darn it. The web-slinging mechanics look really fun. I heard a lot of people say that, oh, this game should have won Game of the Year, but, I feel like other games were very much deserving of it over Spider-Man 2.
There's just something about having an open world feel, not only just of gameplay or graphics, but also just in terms of how you want to play your game, that really attract people. And that was why Spider-Man 2 sadly did not hit that note.
Yeah, and it probably should have won at least something in the Game Awards. Like what Night Matrix is saying. But even then, if something doesn't win something in the Game Awards, it doesn't discredit it from being a good video game.
Oh, not at all. It shouldn't. It's such a solid 3D platformer. And if I'm mistaken, storyline I've heard is actually very solid too.
Okay.
So that's why it's criminal. And that's why people should really not judge. I mean, granted, I know people have been mentioned to me also a few times. The Game Awards mean nothing.
Basically, yeah.
Well, that's what they told me at least. And honestly, there are some points where I had to agree with that statement, sadly.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I have not watched the Game Awards at all. Just because award shows just in general, there's problems with them. Especially, please wrap it up.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, just because something didn't win an award in an awards show doesn't mean that it's not a good video game.
No, not at all. Alright, next up on the list, you mentioned about easier boss fights. How about Super Brothers Wonder? Finally.
Yeah, honestly, the boss fights are probably the weakest part of the game. The rest of the game is
very
fantastic.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, even if it's on the easier side for Mario platformers, I still had a great time with it. Especially revisiting it over I guess Christmas break, even though it's whatever. Just family visiting for Christmas. Funnily enough, my brother Jordan came up and we played his save file because he has the game. He only got a couple levels in and then stopped. I have it fully completed, and so I said, hey, let's just play your save file. Like, let's just do that. So that was my first time playing the game co-op. Period. It's interesting that they took the approach that they took in New Super Mario Bros. 2's co-op mode, where the camera follows one person, and everyone else just has to follow suit.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because oftentimes the camera doesn't actually zoom out like it does in the New Super Mario Bros. Games. So I guess they did that just so that it could maintain the same level of zoom in a organic fashion.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, overall, let's be honest, like, this game deserved its family award for good reason, too, because just how, I mean, it's whimsical. They really did a great job with, like, adding some, like, fun stuff, especially with the flowers. Now, granted, I know everyone, like, some people have, like, went a bit too far with the flowers, but at least, main game-wise, solid. Very solid.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, like, the flowers were fine. I don't see why people would be up in arms about them.
They want to be the only ones talking, not the game.
Yeah. I heard some people, or, like, how can I say this without, like, saying the person's name? Because it's a particular person's video that I saw, that they tried to, like, attribute the flowers to being, like, super over tutorial-y, and it's like, did you even play the game?
Yeah,
the flowers were never like, press this button to do this thing. They were never like that. Where did you get that from?
The only thing I could think of is, like, do you feel like you missed something? That maybe that would be something on the lines of that, but dude, come on. It's supposed to just at least tell you forgot something, and if you already did get the something and playing it the second time, you can just ignore them.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, I think there's a couple parts in the game where the flowers are programmed to say, like, something different if you die in particular spots. Like, yeah, it's one of them is just like, you good?
You good?
Yeah, like, as the
Are you depressed?
Too bad appears and all that. It's just like, you good? So, I think they were a good, solid addition. It's not like they made the game, like, super amazing or whatever. It's just like, okay, yeah, neat little garnish, basically.
There's a charm that we're looking at. Although, to the comment that you mentioned about, there's only one thing I have to say to that.
Yeah?
Wowie zowie.
Oh my gosh. So, people were, like, kind of wondering why they were pushing the characters to say wowie zowie in this game. Like, it was the first time that Mario characters have ever said wowie zowie, because clearly they didn't play the best game from 2019, Luigi's Mansion 3, where in the intro cutscene, Luigi says wowie zowie in response to seeing how tall the mansion is.
Yep.
That game sold like 10 million copies and no one talks about it.
That's funny. Alright, now for the next thing on the list. How does Warioware Move It sound?
Yeah. So,
It sounds excellent. As a pretty, I paused it on the perfect time.
Right, yeah. So, I'm a decently big enough fan of the Warioware series. I say that I 100% of Warioware get it together, and I've played a couple of the other entries. I was like decently excited for this game, and the fact like I played through it and I realized, oh, this is more of a WarioWare party game instead of a traditional WarioWare game structure like Get It Together, where there's, for lack of a better term, grinding of unlocking things and doing extra stuff. WarioWare Move It, you unlock the micro games and maybe a couple extra modes for single player. And that's it. There's no extra stuff, like no Wario Cup, no extra modes that aren't playable in single player. It's very much built for multiplayer, for better or for worse.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that's not to say that, like, I don't like the game. I do, and a lot of the stuff that they do with the motion controls is interesting and fun. It's just that I kind of went in expecting that it would be more of a grindy WarioWare, like Get It Together, and the fact that it wasn't kind of let me down. And that's when I realized, oh, wait, yeah, WarioWare games can really be put into one of two categories, party or grindy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and it's nice that we have one of each on Switch. It's just, if I would have known that going in, I probably would have held off on getting the game, if I'm being honest.
Oops.
Yeah, again, not to say that I didn't have fun with it, it's just... the amount of money that I spent on it, in comparison to the fact that I only played through the single player of a WarioWare game, which is only like 3 hours, and just some extra stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. From what I've heard for WarioWare Move It, I mean, the trailer itself done by Nintendo was already enough to like spark that attention, and it's definitely, the game definitely has not disappointed, as I've heard. Well, from you, and of course I've heard from other people outside. It's fantastic. All right, next up on the list, how does a final remastering sound like?
Oh, it sounds super Mario RPG. Not Legend of the Seven Stars, because they removed that for this remake.
Yeah, weird, but that's not to say that the game is bad. It is good. I mean, that's what I heard. The new combat system, I mean, apparently people have told me it's fantastic. Some have heard from the other perspective, of course, but I mean, come on, it's hard to like put new things in a nostalgia game and not have two parties talk about it, right?
Right. Yeah. Like, whatever you do, there's gonna be people that are like, oh, you should have done things different, and oh, you should have kept things the same, or yeah, it's hard to appease everyone with remasters and remakes like this. I'm very much in the camp of, this is a great game. This is the first time that I've played Super Mario RPG. It is a great game. Definitely on the short side for an RPG. I'm used to like the Mario and Luigi RPGs where they're very much solid 20 hours.
I mean, give them a break. This is a 1996 remake of a 1996 game. So back in the days,
and I was aware of that it was going to be a shorter game. So I'm not really like holding that against it, because I knew that going in. In fact, if we're talking about overall amount of content, this has more than that because of the post-game stuff that they added in. You can refight, I think it's all of the bosses, and they're super difficult from what I've heard. Haven't delved into that. I just rolled credits and then started Ghost Trick. Yeah. Yeah, I started Ghost Trick like the same day that I finished it. RPG.
You ghosted SMRG just for Ghost Trick.
Yeah, I finished with RPG and it's like, ooh, ghost time. He's a phantom.
You're not dead, Jiozak.
I can be if I want to.
Anyways.
Yeah, so overall, great game coming from someone that has not played the game before. At some point, I would be interested in playing the original game just to see what the differences are. I don't know if they'll add it to Switch Online. I know, the Link's Awakening remake came out in 2019, and then last year when Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance was added to Switch Online, they brought with it the original Link's Awakening DX, I think they did. Not just the original, they did the DX version. It's one of the two. So, I don't know if they'll add the original Super Mario RPG to Switch Online. It would be cool if they did, because then people can play the original. But it's probably gonna be a while after the release, so then it doesn't, like, cannibalize sales. But by that point, the next system will probably be a thing.
Yeah, most probably.
And who knows if they'll reset the retro catalog, because they've done that for every system. That's a whole discussion.
We'll see. Alright, the final game on the main list, hopefully I got this correct. How about Sonic Dream Team?
Yay, a game I can't play because I don't have an iPhone.
But what have I heard? I mean, come on. You bring Cream and Rouge as actual playable characters, unlike the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog? Yes, please. As many people have approved.
Yeah, like, even though this is locked to Apple Arcade, seems like people are just universally like, wow, this is a better game than Superstars.
Sadly, that's why this is why I kind of am very sad about Superstars whenever I think about it.
Mm-hmm. And also the fact that it's platform exclusive. Even though lots of people have Apple products, but still.
I mean, hopefully in due time they will change that. Let's just hope.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was one of the Shantae games that was a timed exclusive for Apple Arcade, if I'm remembering correct.
What? I didn't know they did that. That's interesting.
Was it Half Genie Hero? It was whatever the newest one was. That isn't Advance. Seven Sirens? Maybe.
Okay.
It was either Seven Sirens or Half Genie.
It's Seven Sirens.
Hero.
The latest. If you're talking about the latest Shantae game, it has to be Seven Sirens.
Okay. But yeah, I'm pretty sure at least it was exclusive to Apple Arcade for a while.
Let's hope that for Sonic Dream Team, after they try it out with that they were able to port. But then again, maybe this is their way of trying to test the waters, just to make sure that the game is good.
Could be, because then if it's not, they could just let it rot. Rot like an apple.
Really?
I just dribbled water down my face.
That's what you get!
It's barely anything, but still.
I love the 3
it was
second
worth it.
I like the 3 second pause.
Yeah, as I just stare into the camera lens. I don't know which lens of my phone it's using, because
are you sure
my phone has 2 lenses.
But whatever it is, it must be a Google lens.
Yep.
Anyway.
Anyways, shifting our vision away from Apple. Apple Vision.
It's gonna kill us right now.
Anyways, speaking of causing violence to your friends, Mario Kart.
Yep.
The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC finally wrapped up last year.
And boy, it wrapped up with a bang with some of the character and location decisions they had made. I mean, USA, I mean, they did a good job changing to Singapore. I like it, and apparently a lot of my friends loved it as well.
Yeah, joke's on you, I'm using a VPN. If only you were sponsored. That could go into an ad read. That might want Night Matrix to just send a second nuke to me. Who knows?
Jeez. But I know. I mean, is this really the end? I mean, it feels weird that they end on the number 96. But
yeah, it feels like there could be, like one more.
Smash did it. Smash did it. Will Mario Kart do it?
Yeah, because it's 96 courses. Why not just add one more? Like, yeah, it would make the just blue shells.
Exactly. There's a reference that we wanted.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it makes sense that they stop at 96 because it's double the base amount. But then again, 96, you're so close to 100. Just one more pack, no. But no, not.
No, the real gist is that they'll add 3, and then they can make it an actual make it Mario Kart 99.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, just make Nintendo's servers sweat. Yeah, overall, I think the courses that they added were super solid, even though the visual elements are, for some courses, leave something to be desired. Sorry, I'm just now realizing that... Sorry, with my browser extension, anytime that there's been someone in chat that says my name, it does a little, like, blink. So that's gonna be in the recording for your voice.
Yours. Once you edit.
Yeah, I mean it happens so infrequently. I'm not gonna edit it out, and it's just a little blink. So I'll just disable that. So. Yeah, like, even though some courses left something to be desired for, like, in terms of visuals, I still think it was a super solid addition overall. The fact that if you have the expansion pack for Switch Online, you just got the courses, no additional cost. What can I say except you're welcome? Yeah, Thank you. Yeah, it, like, especially if you're part of, expansion pack family plan, like, you're getting the courses for basically nothing, because $10 a year, for each one of us that's part of our family plan, which is, like, barely $1, not even $1 per month. That's a super good deal. Of course, you can just buy the pack outright. The booster course pass, rather. But still.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they added more characters when that wasn't something that they were advertising was going to be a thing to begin with.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, especially, like, Funky Kong, of course. Fans would have been in an uproar if Funky Kong wouldn't have been added. Pauline was a character that I was really hoping that they would add because of her involvement in Super Mario Odyssey. So it was great to actually see her added. As well as comic, as they said in that direct, instead of what most people say is Kamek, or Kamek.
Nah, they watch too much Dragon Ball Z. Comic. Okay.
It reminds me of the first time that I heard Lakitu. Wait, no.
I am so sorry.
Lakitu said as Lakitu. It's like, what? I say Lakitu now, or no? Actually, no. It's just a case of whichever comes to mind first. Yeah, it has been a week, several weeks, maybe even a month. 19 days.
I mean, I don't remember the whole
reasons.
thing now, Patrick, but I was just still kind of leaning towards that joke. Anyways, for me, I mean, I've seen people play the DLC. I mean, new characters always are nice. I'm glad that Singapore got a representation in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That is a huge boon for me. And, I mean, who knows? If anything, I feel like they kind of did have exhausted everything they could have done in terms of characters with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. At least that's for me. But you never know with the franchise. Especially knowing that Super Mario Bros. Wonder did include some characters that potentially could have some play. But, we'll just have to see in due time what they indeed do. I was about to say indeed. Whoops.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, it's... I guess just, like, one more thing about it is, like... People are upset that it wasn't a Mario Kart 9, but it's like, this is clearly a stopgap because they're wanting to buy some more time before the next system, so...
Probably, yeah.
It was very much just they wanted to bring tour tracks and other things to a game that isn't tour, so... Yeah, just adding it to 8 Deluxe was the best call.
Yeah, and let's not forget, like, people also have kind of complained about Tour not being a good game either, and, because of like how rigged and how difficult the game is at the same time.
Yeah, I've dabbled with it here and there. It's okay.
And people
but
have
it just
mentioned
makes
it.
me...
And people have mentioned it already. It's not Mario Kart 9. Mario Kart Tour is not Mario Kart 9. So that already is a big black flag. Yeah, black flag in the situation.
Yeah, some people have said otherwise, but I agree with you that it's like, this isn't an actual new Mario Kart, especially because part of the whole, like, service aspect of it is going away, or is gone. I haven't followed it closely, but the fact that it's already losing some support is kind of indicative of the fact that it's not an actual Mario Kart game.
Sadly, no.
It's just a way for Nintendo to get more people familiar with Mario Kart, because there are apparently people that haven't played Mario Kart before.
What is
and only have a phone.
What is a Mario Kart?
Vsauce music starts playing.
Boom. Anyway, next up on the list, how about the Splatoon 3 DLC?
Yeah.
The second one in particular, because if I'm not mistaken, the first one did come out 2022, if I remember correctly, I think.
Yeah, the first wave came out, it's just a lobby reskin.
And then the second one came out, and all of a sudden, wait a second, there's gameplay? That's so different.
Except the second wave hasn't released yet.
Wait, what?
It's not released.
Huh?
Nope. It's not out. Side Order is not out, but that doesn't mean that I don't have things to say about it.
Oops.
I mean, it's gonna be, I have a feeling whatever the next Nintendo Direct is gonna happen, it's gonna be shadow dropped. It's so, at some point, I've had this just idea for a single player, like, salmon run. It's like, oh, maybe you can, like, after completing certain, like, enough waves, you can use your eggs to, like, buy upgrades and stuff, and take on bigger waves until you just die. And the more that I think about it, and the more that I go back to rewatch the Side Order gameplay, that's what it feels like. It feels like they just read my mind and it's like, that. Because it's like, okay, it doesn't really seem to be focused on, like, puzzle gameplay or gameplay that's focused on your abilities for, like, finer stuff. It very much seems combat focused.
Not as much on platforming, I dare say.
Right.
Also, hi, Homo, how you doing?
Hello. Like, the footage from the Side Order trailers very much feels like it's at least inspired by Salmon Run. Like, it actually is a single-player Salmon Run. Like, mixed with roguelike elements.
Yeah, it does definitely feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Still knows, I mean, we're excited to see how that turns out all the more. And hopefully it turns out well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's taken them a while to complete, partially because they specifically said that Side Order is designed to be played over and over again, like a roguelike. So, just from that, and the fact that Splatoon is such a tentpole series for Nintendo at this point, like, it's one of their key franchises, whether people like it or not. It very much feels like, yeah, no, we're not getting an announcement for another system until this fall, at the very least, or at the soonest.
That sounds like that way.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll have to see. All right.
Yeah.
Two more parts before we end up our podcast. How about the Scarlet and Violet DLC? Now, here's the thing. The first DLC, definitely from me, definitely fixed up a lot of stuff that people kept complaining about Scarlet and Violet, at least in terms of the base game. And then Indigo Disc, I heard people say that's actually, it was a pretty decent job. And we see a lot, I'm not too sure you have been paying attention, Jiozak, on Twitter or X, because there have been a lot of posts online about the free camera you can have with your Pokemon instead of just your character. That is kind of garnered attention.
Interesting. I haven't really heard too much about that.
That's the only thing I can think of when it comes to the Indigo Disc, because fun fact, guys, even though I have the DLC, I've yet to play Indigo Disc. And mainly just because I've been sick and also been busy with work. Now, granted, I can actually talk about the Teal mask, and I'll say this. It's quite fun. And Ogerpon is the cutest legendary I think I've seen in my life. Oh my goodness. There's just something about Ogerpon that really has, the charm. It's so good. And the different mask also is a very nice touch and a very cool concept for me. Story-wise, I really like it. The characters-wise, I really like it. I like them as well. I know that some of the characters actually return into the Indigo Disc, so I can't wait to see them again. As for the new mechanics that have been added through the Teal mask, the minigame is fun. I granted only played it once, but that's just because I kind of finished the DLC and gone. But honestly, if I did have the time, I would play that minigame over and over again just because of how fun it is just to roam around.
Nice.
That's just how
Sorry,
much that game is good. But
did you say specifically what the minigame was about? If you did, I just completely zoned out.
oh no, I did not. It's basically you trying to find some like berries to put inside baskets. But the idea of just roaming around is just so much fun. And of course,
Okay.
trying to be fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I quite like about that.
I heard something about how it's like you need to do certain things in order to gain access to it. Like, it's not just a case of you buy it and you have access to it. You have to, like, do certain things. I'm not fully aware of what that means, but that's what I've heard from some people. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know sure I want to believe what they say of like how it's hidden by any means, because technically they do mention like, oh, you have to talk to this person, all that stuff. But I'll see it for myself once I actually play the Indigo disc in due time. I'm just not sure when, guys. I'll be honest. Illness definitely has kind of taken a mental. I really have mentally struggled because of my illness, so that's why it's just been hard.
Fair. Yeah. I mean,
I hope in due time I will be able to and
that.
finally give a proper opinion. But overall, what I've heard, the features in Indigo Gis have definitely made some of it worth it.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Anyways, one last thing to talk about. This is the big one, honestly. We thought that this year couldn't get any better with terms of gaming. At least some people would like to say it. Yet it did.
Mm-hmm.
With the first ever game crash on Tetris. And for those wondering yourself, wait, what do you mean by that? We're talking about the very old NES Tetris back in 1987. It's finally gone in a game crash by a 13-year-old boy.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, of all people, someone who is like not even half the age of the game itself. Am I getting my numbers right?
Not even 1/3 of the year, technically.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because people actually mentioned how Tetris technically started in 1984.
Yeah.
But the actual NES Tetris was 1987, for those wondering. That's why there's a bit of discrepancy there. But boy, it rocked the gaming industry, it rocked the Tetris community, and it rocked the world. Not only because of how monumentally milestone-ish, I'm not saying that's an actual phrase, do not quote me on that, it was, but also because of a very awkward media that you could say really sparked the popularity for this kid.
Yeah, I forget what country this broadcast happened, but basically there was a news anchor who was reporting about this. And she was very much just like, what are you doing playing these video games? Go outside. Not even like fully understanding the fact that this has never happened before. In all the years of this game being played. Yeah, like, a lot of times traditional media will just not understand fully the ramifications of something like this in a more nerd-centric, quote-unquote, gaming sphere. But yeah, it's definitely brought more light to the situation as a whole and has made people like actually aware of this kid's existence and the fact that he crashed Tetris in a way that people have not done so before by like just playing the game until the game gave up.
Basically,
instead of,
yeah,
instead of like filling up your whole like play area with tetraminos, the RAM was just overflowed to the point where it just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yep, that too, Night Matrix.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, lesson for every news broadcaster or budding new broadcaster out there: do your freaking research, my guy.
and have some like
Humanity?
common decency. Yeah, just be like, if I was a news anchor and just knew nothing about sports, I would still present like some like earth-shattering record or event. I would still give that like importance and the weight that it deserves.
And you think about it, let's look at, like, hey, I wouldn't bring this person up because honestly I watch him a lot and I know his story. Look at Rob Stone, for example. He joined following commentary in 2007, 2008. People at the start were like, how, he doesn't really know much about bowling, all that stuff. And yet he did his research. He does his research and making sure that what he says makes sense in the bowling context. And look where he is now. An absolutely legendary Fox commentator in and of itself.
Right. Yeah.
And that did not come overnight. It came from research and hard work.
Exactly.
And him also keeping healthy so his voice doesn't crack up, because boy, his voice carries. he does a great job with that. But yeah, no, that's why it's always important to do your research when you're a news broadcaster. Although, let's be honest, it was a pretty nice thing to know that he got more publicity than expected, all because of that. Ironically.
Exactly. Yeah, there was good that came out of it. So
yeah, I mean, that was probably the way to end 2023, and that's the way we're going to end off the podcast, boys and gentlemen. Oof.
Actually, I have one more quick thing.
Oh.
Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, the remake port thing of it came out last year. Play it. Play it. Because like I said, I played it right after Super Mario RPG. This was last month. It's definitely within my top 10 favorite games of all time, maybe 5. What that list exactly entails, I don't know. Maybe I'll actually make it someday.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I know, Hummel, I mean, you came in a bit at the tail end right there, but we have been running for 2 hours on this podcast. I think it's a good stopping point for us, let's just say.
Yes.
Oof. But yeah, that is 2023 finally wrapped up. Next time, though, I'm actually got a topic right off the gate to discuss for our next Bejeweled podcast, and that is pertaining to Tetris. Because even though, what country I live in Singapore, Hummel. Even though we did just touch the surface of the Tetris game crash, I do want to dive in even further, because where else can Tetris go? More about that next podcast.
Air. Tetris Air. Only for the MacBook Air.
Okay, maybe not that. See you guys.